If it doesn't help, you've lost nothing. If it does help, you've gained something priceless: financial peace. Here's one more thing to remember. The audit isn't therapy. If you're dealing with financial infidelity, gambling problems, or severe debt stress, seek professional help. But for everyday money tensions, this works. It addresses the root cause, not the surface symptoms. Remember that study I mentioned earlier? The one where money conflicts remained unresolved despite problem-solving attempts? Those couples were trying to solve budget disagreements. They never addressed the underlying value differences. The 5-minute audit does address those differences. It brings them to the surface. It helps you understand what money represents for each of you. And understanding, that's where resolution begins. Let me leave you with this thought. You're in the best years of your life. You've worked hard. You've earned what you have. Don't let money arguments rob you of enjoyment. Don't spend your evenings in tense silence over unopened mortgage statements. Try the 5-minute audit this week, right now. Set a timer. Sit down together. Follow the 5 steps. Minute 1, share gratitude. Minute 2, state your top 3 goals. Minute 3, find the overlap. Minute 4, choose one shared action. Minute 5, close with appreciation. That's it. That's the whole process. Simple. Yes, easy. Not always. Worth it? Absolutely. Because at the end of your life, nobody wishes they'd argued more about money. But many people wish they'd connected more with their partner. The 5-minute audit gives you both financial alignment and emotional connection. Start today. Thank me later. Your relationship is worth 5 minutes a week. The 5-minute audit builds relationship happiness around money. It doesn't solve every financial problem, but it changes the emotional environment in which you solve problems. And that changes everything. Think about it this way. You've been together for decades. You've navigated careers, raised children, built a life. Yet money remains a source of tension. Why? Because you've never created a ritual for financial alignment. Most couples have rituals for other things. Coffee together in the morning, Sunday dinner, evening walks. These rituals maintain connection. They keep you aligned emotionally. The 5-minute audit does the same thing for finances. It's not about the budget. It's about the relationship. Here's what happens when couples adopt this practice. Within weeks, financial stress decreases. Not because their money situation improves, but because they feel like a team. Within months, they make better financial decisions. They naturally compromise because they understand each other's priorities. Within a year, money fights become rare. They still have financial discussions, but the discussions feel collaborative instead of combative. This isn't magic, it's psychology. Research from multiple studies shows that financial conflicts stem from discrepant financial values. When you don't understand your partner's values, every money decision becomes a battle. The 5-minute audit surfaces those values weekly. It keeps you aligned. It prevents small disconnections from becoming major rifts. Now let me address something important. This audit works best when both partners commit to it. You can't force participation, but you can invite it. Start the conversation like this. I read about this technique for couples. Takes 5 minutes once a week. It's supposed to reduce money stress. Want to try it? Most partners say yes when you frame it as an experiment, a low-stakes trial. Try it for a month. 4 conversations, 20 minutes total. This is where couples discover they're not as far apart as they thought. Dr. Brad Klontz calls these money scripts, unconscious beliefs about money formed in childhood. When you surface these scripts, you understand each other better. Minute 4, the one shared action. Here's where you make it concrete. Choose one action you'll take together this week, just one. It should connect to your overlapping goals. We'll get 3 quotes for the roof repair. We'll open that high-yield savings account we discussed. We'll look at available dates for the theme park trip. Notice what's happening. You're building trust through small wins. Financial therapy research shows this works. Dr. Christy Arculeta published studies on solution-focused financial therapy. Small, achievable goals build financial self-efficacy. And when you accomplish these goals together, you strengthen your relationship. Minute 5, the appreciation close. End where you began, with positivity. Thank your partner for something specific from this conversation. Thank you for understanding why the roof matters to me. I appreciate you sharing your worries about our savings. Thanks for wanting to create memories with the grandkids. This bookends the conversation with positive emotion. It creates what psychologists call positive effect. Your brain associates financial discussions with connection instead of conflict. Over time, this changes everything. Now, I know what you're thinking. 5 minutes. That seems too simple. Let me tell you about a study from the Journal of Family and Economic Issues. Researchers found that financial concerns relate negatively to financial management behaviors. But here's the interesting part. Relationship happiness moderated this relationship. In other words, when couples felt happy together, they managed money better, even when they had financial concerns. Minute 1. The gratitude round. Each person shares one financial thing they appreciate. It could be anything. I'm grateful we can afford our grandchildren's gifts. I appreciate that you handle the bills so I don't have to. I'm thankful we saved enough for this retirement. Why start here? Because research shows harsh startups predict negative outcomes. Dr. John Gottman discovered this decades ago. In 96% of cases, you can predict a conversation's outcome from the first 3 minutes. So we start with positivity. We prime the conversation for success. Minute 20. The top 3 goals. Each person states their top 3 financial priorities right now, this week, this month. Not abstract goals like be comfortable, specific ones. I want to replace the roof before winter. I need to know we have 6 months of expenses saved. I want to take the grandkids to that theme park this summer. Here's what's crucial. You don't debate these priorities. You just listen. You acknowledge them. Why? Because research from the Journal of Financial Therapy shows something powerful. Shared financial values predict relationship satisfaction. But before you can share values, you must understand each other's values. Most couples skip this step. They assume they know what matters to their partner. They're usually wrong. Minute 3, the overlap discovery. Now comes the magic part. You identify where your goals overlap. Where do your priorities align? Maybe you both want security. One of you expressed it as 6 months of expenses saved. The other said replace the roof before winter. Different words. Same underlying value, protection. Maybe you both want joy. One said theme park with grandkids. The other mentioned those concert tickets we talked about. Different specifics. Same underlying desire, experiences. They focused on budgets and spreadsheets. They debated whether to spend or save. They argued over credit cards and restaurant bills. But underneath, something deeper was happening. Dr. Megan McCoy calls it the meaning behind money. She's a certified financial therapist. Her research reveals that money carries psychological weight we rarely acknowledge. For one person, saving represents safety. It's protection against disaster. Perhaps their parents lost everything in a recession. Maybe they grew up with food insecurity. For another person, spending represents freedom. It's proof they've made it. Perhaps their parents sacrificed too much. Maybe they watched opportunities slip away. Neither perspective is wrong. But when they collide, disaster. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Research on positive relationship interactions shows something remarkable. Couples need a 5-1 ratio, 5 positive interactions for every negative one. This applies to financial conversations too. Dr. McCoy suggests we shouldn't just minimize negative money talks. We need intentional positive ones. Most couples do the opposite. They avoid money discussions. Then, when problems arise, they have difficult conversations under stress. Imagine that pattern for years, decades even. No wonder money fights persist. But here's the good news. There's a solution. It's simple. It takes 5 minutes a week. I call it the 5-minute financial audit. This isn't a budget review. It's not about tracking expenses. It's something entirely different. It's about alignment. Let me walk you through it. They sat in silence at the kitchen table. The mortgage statement lay between them, unopened. She wanted security, a plan, something concrete that said they'd be okay in retirement. He wanted freedom, the ability to spend now, to enjoy what they'd worked for. Neither was wrong. But they couldn't find common ground. Does this sound familiar? Here's what surprises most couples. Money fights aren't really about money. Let me tell you what researchers at Kansas State University discovered. They studied over 4,500 couples. They wanted to know what predicts divorce. Sex? Children? In-laws? None of those topped the list. Arguments about money did. But here's the twist. The researchers controlled for income. They controlled for debt. They even controlled for net worth. It didn't matter. Rich couples fought just as much as poor couples. High net worth individuals divorced over money at the same rates as everyone else. So what's really happening? Dr. Sonia Britt published this finding in 2012. She discovered something profound. Money arguments predict divorce not because couples lack funds, but because they lack alignment. Think about that for a moment. You can have millions in the bank, but if you're pulling in different directions, you're in trouble. Let me share something else. Research from the University of Wisconsin examined 748 conflict instances between couples. They used daily diary reports. Spouses recorded every disagreement for weeks. Money conflicts weren't the most frequent, but they were the most destructive. Dr. Lauren Papp and her colleagues found this in 2009. Money disagreements were more pervasive, more problematic, more recurrent. And here's the kicker. They remained unresolved, despite including more attempts at problem solving. You read that right. Couples tried harder to solve money problems. They put in more effort, yet the conflicts persisted. Why? Because they were solving the wrong problem.